This is a new resource that we just received starting in July when the state library started funding it. And it has a lot of really great resources for people who are looking for jobs and careers. I know I can't be alone in having difficulty keeping up with all of those big, bulky paper books like the ASVAB and civil service practice tests and GED practice tests and nursing exam prep books. And the great thing about Peterson's online is that it provides access to them for as many people as possible online. So I am going to introduce you to Stacy Niblo, who is a senior training consultant at Gale. And Stacy is going to take us through the resources that they have for job and career hunters. Thank you, Stacy.
Excellent. Thanks, Mary. Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be here with you virtually to take a look at what this Peterson's resource can do for you. The name is really in the title for what we'll be doing. Not much of an agenda today, but I did want to let you know we'll provide some options for Gale support at the wrap up. So if you should have questions later, you know where to go for those. But we're going to start with just a quick overview of Gale Presents Peterson's Test and Career Prep. And then we're going to really spend most of our time live in the resource looking at all those career and job hunting tools. So feel free to ask questions anytime. Happy to hear from you. You know, if you see something on the screen you want to know more about, feel free to unmute, or if you'd rather use the chat, however you're most comfortable. I'll keep an eye on that. So the resource itself, as Mary mentioned, you know, this is based on a lot of the book content that Peterson's produced. And back when I was in the library, they were hard to keep on the shelves and hard to keep in good shape. So it's great to have all this content in one place. It offers test prep, as we're going to see a lot of job and career prep, resume building tool, and lots of advice. You also have ways to find schooling should you need it. And normally on this slide, I kind of point out the 4 areas of the database you'll spend the most time in. But if we're looking at job and career prep, it's really under all of them. Probably Find a School is the one you would use least often unless some sort of schooling is involved with the career that someone's after and they want to find, you know, an appropriate program or school. But we're actually going to touch on all of these and hit some of the highlights for things you may be looking for most often to help folks with job and career prep. So let's go ahead and dive right into that live resource. Lots of things to show you. So I've come into the home page here, and there's always a welcome on our databases to kind of let you know what you're using. But with Gale and Peterson's, this is a partnership product with us and them. We, you know, provide this to libraries, and technically they produce the resource themselves. So you'll see there's a lot of kind of co-branding and things like that, but Peterson's is a name that's recognized in this world, so we're thrilled to have them as a partner. One thing that makes this resource a little different from kind of traditionally produced Gale databases is there is a user account requirement. So I can't really get to much from this homepage. I can look around and see what's here, go into, say, the high school tools and find high school equivalency exams, help there. And once I start to get into something, I'm going to get prompted to log in. So you'll find that at most of these steps, as you start to really get into the tool, you will be asked to log in because folks are going to be taking online practice tests. They're going to be creating resumes, and we need to be able to kind of keep track of their work so that when they come back, they can kind of pick up where they left off. So on the home page, I'll just kind of jump back all the way home here. You'll always have the create an account right here at the bottom of the banners. It's also going to appear up here in the upper right-hand corner of the page, so you can kind of always get to it. And to create a new account is very simple. We have very little requirements here. Your name, a username, password, and secret word are all that's required. Email address is optional. Folks don't have to include that if they don't want to. It's the easiest way to reset your password should you forget it, but again, not required. This is a kind of privacy feature for our users. A lot of folks just don't like to turn over their email address. Rest assured that if you do, it really is only used to get you a new password should you forget it. You won't all of a sudden start getting marketing from Gale or Peterson's or anything. It's just to generate a new password or recreate your account should you need to. But it's there if you need it. If you want to include it, you don't have to. Your account immediately gets created, so you're able to start using the tools. You don't have to, have another step or anything. You just can immediately start using the resource. And I've done a little pre-work so I can show you what some resumes and things like that look like. So I'm actually, rather than creating a new account, I'm going to go ahead and log into a current account. And a minute to get in there. And one of the neat benefits of your user account is, of course, the main reason is to kind of keep up with what you've got going. Oh, that's right. I had gone into the HiSET exam. Let me go ahead and get back to the database though. Oh, you know what? Let me just use the back button so I get to the home page. I think, yes, here I am. This is what I want to show you. Oh, that's right. I haven't, sorry folks. I was running into trouble with my regular account this morning, and so I had to create a new one. So I don't have any favorites yet. We'll add one so you can see what I'm talking about. So the things that you're going to be doing often in this resource, if I am taking the GED prep course, I can add this to my favorites so it would show up right on the home page. Or if I'm in the middle of creating a resume and I know I'm going to be coming back, I can make that a favorite. So we'll look at how to do that. But we're going to kind of go a bit, well, we're going to start out in order. I am going to start with improve your score. These areas here are really helpful if folks are preparing for, say, a civil service exam, a nursing exam, or nursing school exam, I should say. Any of the things that live under vocational test prep, if folks just kind of want to brush up on some basic skills, or if, say, the career they're interested in, the job they're interested in requires a GED and they need to, study for that maybe before they take it, improve your score is going to find that kind of support. Foundational skills can help brush up math skills, English skills, writing skills. We even offer Microsoft Office tutorials, so you can maybe brush up on some of those tools you might be using in a new job. We have Windows 11 tutorials, and like all of the tutorials or courses within the resource, they're going to open up in this new window, and then really it is like you're taking a course. You'll be able to track your progress, and then depending on the tool you're in, there might be little knowledge checks and things along those lines. But here we can see for Microsoft Office, we can brush up on Word, on Excel, and we're working on adding more options to this page. But it's a great way to get familiar with something or maybe refamiliarize yourself. And you just can follow the table of contents over here on the left, or jump around to the content you need help with. So calculating percentages, maybe I need help for that in Excel, I can jump right to that section of the tutorial, or again, this is how the courses will look too. So the foundational skills can be, again, a good starting point for someone who's maybe getting ready to take a test. This is also, though, where you'll find help for prepping for the GED. So if we go under improve your score in high school, there we go, taking a minute to catch up with me. We've got a variety of schools you may take when you're in high school, or in this case, high school equivalency exams. And we click in, you'll just find the list available. And the GED exam prep course is available in the lower right-hand corner. It's going to offer a course and practice tests. We also offer practice tests in Spanish, so the GED in Espanol. And again, either of these are things I want to keep track of on the homepage and make them a favorite so I can easily get to them from one click when I log in. Just click that little star and it'll start showing up on your homepage. So we launch again in a new window. And with the practice tests that come along with courses, it's actually going to look a little similar to what we just saw for the foundational skills for Office. You have these kind of placards on the page so you can move around within the course. So if you go in order, it's similar to what you'd be doing if you did have that GED test prep ebook. And you can just walk through it in that manner. Or again, maybe the vocabulary is where I need more help. Social studies, I can just jump to those sections. And then here at the bottom, you'll find those practice tests. And you can see I've done a little work here. As you move through the database, you're kind of building progress in courses and in your resume. You can just get a little eye on how much work you've done so far. So only really worked on one section. I don't recommend randomly selecting answers like I did with mine. But if you look to the left, we like to have more than one version of a practice test for the users, because it's not good practice to get in there and keep taking the same one over and over. You start memorizing answers. So Peterson's likes to add usually at least 3 different versions of the practice test. And then depending on what test you're working with, you know, we could have as many or not as 9 or 10. I think the SAT currently has 9. So you'll see them just listed over here on the left. I've taken one of the diagnostic tests for the GED, and then we have the actual practice test, so 4 versions of that. And you have the various sections kind of broken down. They would be in the real test. And as you select, opens up and kind of gives you a quick welcome to the test. You kind of know what to expect and how it will work. If it's a timed exam, it will be timed within the practice test as well. So it gives you a warning about that. And then you jump right into the practice test, and it even acts like it's on paper. If you look here in kind of our middle column, we can see the questions that go on each page. It'll automatically move us through, but this is another good way for you to kind of see your progress through that test. It also is going to let you know as you answer questions, you'll notice it'll get a little checkbox over there for that question, or sorry, a little check mark for that question. So you can kind of get that visual confirmation that you have answered it. It is saving your answers as you go through. So there's no need for someone to look for a save button or anything. It's just automatically saving the work. Again, another reason we need that user account so it can save the work. And you can move through. Looks like I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I guess I'll give it a negative sign. In math, not my forte, so it really is probably not that important that I'm not actually reading the questions either. But we have the ability then to just move to the next page. And again, you're kind of getting a count. I'm not sure if you noticed it here at the bottom of the page. It's letting me know I've answered 10 of 37 so far. You can always go back. I'm on page 2. Maybe I want to review what I did on page 1. I can just click the question number, and I can still change my answers until you submit the quiz. You can always go back, change your answers, and then submit. So if you've got some time left in the test, you want to review, you can always go back. And then when you're ready, submit the quiz. It's going to do a little check. It notices that I haven't answered 27 of the questions. So I could go back and do that now, but let's go ahead and submit. And then my favorite thing about all of the online practice tests is you get immediate feedback. You can see how you did on this test. So just going back to page 1 and starting right from question 1, I did not get this one right, and I get feedback on why I was wrong, or what the right answer is and why. So you can always learn from your mistakes and kind of keep moving through. Oh, I randomly got one. That's good. So we can move through these. Got a few actually. So always going to have that option to view the feedback. So these pages are, if someone is taking maybe a GED test prep course with an instructor, they could always print these out, bring them out, bring to their instructor and kind of review what they did here, maybe get some extra instruction if they needed. But again, don't forget, for the GED, you have a whole course to go along with it. So they could go back and review, say, that math section of the exam. So the courses and the tests that go hand in hand, I think, are really powerful. You won't have that for every exam, but a lot of them will also come with the ebook, which is a good tool, good study aid as well. And basically, when you're in here, if you click on the topic, so say, again, we want to jump into the high set, you kind of see what goes along with everything, and it's got more than one piece. So improve your score, the foundational skills and the high school sections here are the 2 I've visited so far. There are some others for other types of schooling, but I would stick with those 2 when you're working with folks interested in job and career tools. Let me check my notes here, see if there's anything else I wanted to point out there. No. All right, so now we're going to jump to the other end of the banner here, the vocational test prep. We'll look at a few other tests here so you can get eyes on those. Initially, they're broken down by subject area, and then some of our newest tests get their own section. So we were recently able to add paramedic exams, journeyman electrician. Those are newer, so they're kind of staying in the menu on their own for a while, and then we'll probably get moved to a subject area. For tests that we have multiple options for, for subject areas that we have multiple tests for, say, for example, under the medical and nursing, we can just browse around and see what's available. So dental admission, we had a lot of requests for the TEAS test prep. And that's actually probably been there for about 2 years now, but this was a big request. So folks who are trying to enter nursing school, a lot of schools require the TEAS exam. You've got a variety of more advanced tests for nursing as they move along in their career. Dental hygienist has been very popular. There are, again, depending on what you choose, let me jump in to say the TEAS test. We're going to see that same type of format that we've seen for the others. So it's nice. It makes it really consistent as you move through the resource. So in this case, we've got some study aids in the form of flashcards and, of course, the practice tests. So you can move through those. I do want to talk about some of the other exams, though. So let's go ahead and pop back. The military section will have the ASVAB, which is also very popular. And you've got, again, some study aids in the forms of ebooks. So it looks like right now for the military flight aptitude test, we just have an ebook. So it's here on the military homepage or hub. But if we are able to add practice test, which my guess is usually we see the ebook first and then the practice test comes later, that'll get added here as well. But then we would have a hub for that. But you can see there are officer candidate test prep, variety of exams you might need for the military, a course to go along with the ASVAB as well. And this is something we're doing more and more of. So you'll see a lot more courses get added over time. We started out with really just one for the SAT, but it got such a great response that we've been able to, and I see we as a whole, Gail and Peterson's have been able to add more. So let me call out a couple others that were of interest. So if we look here, there is a separate section for postal exams. It's got its own section, but of course that's one civil service exam. Go. So you've got some options for the different postal worker exams. We also link though to the civil service exam prep course. So it shows up here under postal worker, but you'll also find it here if we go under, say, social work, which offers some other civil service exams, and the course and ebook as well for just civil service in general. So these have been popular too. Again, just kind of checking off my list. Now yes, we looked at medical. So there was one area I wanted to save till last because it is slightly different. Under vocational test prep, we have a section for cosmetology. Some of you may know that Gale is part of Cengage Learning, which is a textbook producer, and they produce textbooks for K-12 schools, for colleges, for different programs. And they have developed a program called Milady for cosmetology work. And that's actually what we use here. Rather than the Peterson's test prep, we actually are able to include our Milady U online licensing preparation programs. And I'll go into, say, the nail tech. It is going to look a little different. It goes outside of the kind of course software that we have built for the other courses and tests and goes into our Milady tool. And this is mostly test prep here. If we go into the tests or, well, there's a glossary, which is, again, a nice study aid. I don't have any tests yet because I haven't really reviewed the content yet. But if we go into chapter review, you work through that. So it does look slightly different than the rest of the resource. This is really the only one, anything that comes from Milady. So really under the cosmetology content. So, but again, that user account kind of follows us. So I don't have to create another account or anything. I'm still able to use my regular Peterson's login. So slightly different there for cosmetology. So the test prep, really big piece of the database, very popular. And one of the interesting things you can see is in your usage reports, you can see what are the most popular pieces in your library. So you can tell, you know, oh, it looks like we've got a lot of interest in these cosmetology exams, or we've got a lot of interest in, say, the postal worker. That can give you some good feedback. Maybe you could, you know, put a page up, sorry, not a page, you could put a placard up or a little note card to let folks know you've got this online resource they can take advantage of. A lot of libraries have used like little QR codes and things like that to point folks to the resource. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that discovery here when we wrap up and talk about Gale support. But lots of good stuff for test prep here, and multiple versions of the test are always valuable, which you're going to find here. The books themselves usually do that as well. Again, I think they shoot for 3, but being able to have it online and graded for you is a huge benefit. All right. So let's say someone has gone through and they've done the work they need to do. They've taken the test, they've gotten certified, whatever it may be for whatever they were interested in, and they're ready to start applying for jobs. You've got a great Explore Careers section here. And I'm going to go under, there is a job search tool, but I'm going to go to the career tools first, because one of, I think, the most important pieces of the resource is this career advice section. And this is actually built like a course too. It hits different subject areas. So there's a little portion on transitioning out of the military. There's a portion on negotiating salary. There's a portion on resume basics. So folks don't have to, read a whole book. They've got these quick tutorials they can go through about cover letters, resume FAQs, interviews and networking. And then you jump in, and again, it's going to kind of look like the courses we just progress through. We'll have a table of contents over here on the left so we can move around. But it's a nice way to kind of gather information and build up, salary expectation, negotiating skills, things like that, without having to deal with a bunch of ads online if you're Google searching, or again, read a whole book. So the career advice section is really valuable and again, pretty extensive. It covers a lot of different subject areas. So again, it's treated like a course, but you really can jump in where you need the help. So you've also got, and I'll just mention it briefly here, I do want to spend more time in the resume tool because that's probably where you'll spend more time. There's a find a career tool here that helps you make assessments. So it's a great tool if you've got high school students using the library, thinking about what they want to do, or maybe an adult is considering a career change, what might they be suited to? This offers 4 different assessments. You have to do 2 of them before it will recommend jobs. Interest, values, personality, and workplace preferences are the 4 assessments. You have to do these first 2. And it just kind of, by the way you answer questions, or for example, in the values, it asks you to kind of pick the most important things to you in a job. Workplace preferences does something a little different. Personality does something. It's not really just these kind of multiple choice, yes, no type things. It's an engaging assessment to go through, I think. But once you're there, it will match you up with careers you might be well suited for, let you know what you're strong in, and you can still explore things maybe you weren't as strong in. It doesn't limit you in that way, but then it can actually jump you to a current job search tool. So you can search for jobs. This works with Indeed.com and searches their open positions, which is a great job search site out on the web. So some good stuff here. So I'd encourage you to explore that a bit, but just in the interest of time, I do want to spend more time in the Create a Resume tool, because this is where you might spend more time. Now, I am happy in my job. I love my job, but if I were building my resume to go out and look for a new one, I would be using this tool. It does a really nice job, and it's got a lot of great help. So I've gone ahead and built some content here earlier to kind of have on hand, and you can, and this is just a little example here. So I took my real resume. You can import a resume from Word, and it will put it into one of their templates. Okay, so I just pulled this in. And of course I can make, adjustments. There might be some, well, if it's my resume, there's probably a couple spelling issues, but I can go through and make little adjustments to it. It's all editable, but it just pulled it in for Word so I don't have to recreate it. But let's say you've got somebody who is starting from scratch. They need to really build their resume. If you choose Create New, either down here in the All Resume section or just the Create New button up here up top, it will ask you, do you want to use an existing resume? So you can upload something from elsewhere. I used Word, but if you've got a PDF, you could use that too. My favorite though, again, if somebody's starting from scratch, using sample content. For me, the hardest part of writing a resume is where I'm explaining my job. I know what I do every day, but that's hard to get on paper, right? Using sample content is going to use this huge library of resumes from our partner here, my visual CV, and just type in a job title. So, hi, construction manager, construction worker. There we go. So we could use, hostess, bank teller, anything. And I've never had it not find a job is an example for me, or all the different things I've tried. And it gives you some popular choices here at the top. You can get a little preview of it. I'm just going to go ahead and use this sample. Actually, no, I'm going to use this other one. It's a little wordier. So I'm going to use this sample. And it's filled in. I can now go through and maybe rewrite bits of this to really reflect my job, but it's got that kind of resume speak already done for me. I can delete the things I didn't do. Again, I can kind of enhance what's already here, but what do writers say? Staring at a blank piece of paper is just the worst, right? Here, we're not doing that now. We're editing what we have in front of us. So you just go through and make your changes, of course, adjust your name, whatever may need be. All of these things here, the work experience, put in your, correct date ranges, things like that. The other thing I love about this is it makes really good looking resumes. So by default, it uses one of their templates. And right here at the top, you can kind of play around with it, change the colors, the fonts, things like that. But you've also got the option, if you look over here on the left, to change the template. So say I want one of these, I want something that's a little more colorful, a little more eye-catching, right? I can pick from the list. Some of these have photos, some don't. That's actually something you can read about in the career advice. Should you include a photo on your resume? There's lots of good stuff about resumes in the resource. And say I like this one that kind of, you can see down the column, it's got like a skills level section. Let's go ahead and switch to that one. And it just flips it over into that template. Okay, maybe I don't like the red. I can change the colors. Again, can kind of play around with this as needed. I can take it out of the resource. You'll notice there's a download option, so I can just download the PDF, attach it to an email that I'm sending to apply for a job, or upload to a job site, wherever it needs to go. You can download it into Word and then do more formatting there if you're more comfortable in Word. The other neat thing you can do is, by default, when you're creating a resume, it is private. It's in the database. You're the only one who has access to it through your user account. But if you look over here on the settings tool on the far left with the gear icon there, you can actually change that privacy level, and make it unlisted or public. Public is, as you can imagine, then becomes public. It will be searchable at Google. It would be, if someone searched for this name, my name, they could find this resume. So I'm not going to leave it public. I've actually never been a construction worker. That was my dad's job. So I would probably keep it at export only, which is, again, the default, very private. But then there's this happy medium. Unlisted does not become searchable online, but what it does do is create a URL that I could then put in an email, put in lots of different ways to apply for jobs nowadays. So if I'm tweeting it to somebody, I could send that URL and they'd be able to see my resume online, but no one else could get to it. You'd have to have that URL. So again, by default, always private, just your access, but you can change those privacy letters. You can even go so far as to create a whole website around yourself in this section of the resource. You can keep track of what you're doing with career journals, keep track of your accomplishments. There's, of course, a cover letter section, but the resume tool is really powerful. And again, I think is where you'll find a lot of users making use. So I'm noticing the time. Let me just check my list. I think I've hit all the things I wanted to. Let me see if there's anything in the chat. But anything else I can cover here? Or Mary, anything you wanted to point out?
This was great. I'm just going to invite anybody to unmute and ask questions if you have them, or put them in the chat.
In the meantime, I'll just pop back to our slides here and just talk about support from Gail. Oh, wait, hang on. So we've got some in the chat. Oh, that's from Mary.
That's just me.
So you visit support.gale.com/NJSL. This will take you to our support page for New Jersey. And what's neat is when you get there, you select your library from the list, and then the site customizes to all the support we have for Peterson's test and career prep, and for other things you may have on your own from Gale, but has lots of training support, tutorials, tip sheets, training decks. If you're going to do outreach about this resource, maybe go out to, job centers in town and things like that. We've got a training PowerPoint you can just load up and customize and be ready to go. We have lots of great marketing materials, print things like bookmarks, but then also digital assets, social media posts ready to go. And you can even make use of what we call the subject hubs. So we have created MARC records and direct URLs for all of the ebooks in the collection, but also all of the subject hubs, meaning those pages that are dedicated to a topic. So say that military section we were looking at under the vocational text, it listed all of the different military exams. So if someone came into your catalog and searched on ASVAB, they'd end up with a MARC record that would take them right to that page in the resource. We also have direct links. So if you wanted to tweet, hey, get ready for the GED, and then put in the subject hub direct URL, boom, you've just directed someone right to the resource from, outreach you're doing through your social media. So those are also available when you get to the support page. And I'll send a follow-up email to Mary. So she's got the kind of details on this. You can find all the links for everything. And then, of course, you can always reach out to your Gale team. Feel free to call on me. I'm your trainer for New Jersey, but your customer success manager is always a good person to get to know at Gale. They can really help with anything. Honestly, they work on all different pieces of the company. So definitely let them know if you have questions about usage reports, access, questions about the database, feedback. We love to hear that. And then, of course, tech support's always available at our 800 number and via email as well.
So we do have a question from Jeanette. She wanted to know if there's a top level URL for the entire database. And I believe that is available on the jerseyclicks.org website, isn't it, Stacy?
Yes, you can get to it from Jersey Clicks. You can also, if you go to that support page I mentioned, that support.gale.com/NJSL, when you select your library from the list, I apologize, folks, my internet seems to be a little slow today. Everything's taken a couple seconds longer than I think it should. When you come to this page, you'll just select your library from the list. And the first thing it will give you actually is your access URL for your library. So if you want to put this on your web page, or again, in a tweet, or wherever you want to go. The great thing is New Jersey has, I think like most of the resources on Jersey Clicks, we have geo-authentication in place. So this URL will check to see that your user's in New Jersey. And then if they are, they just get in. They don't have to put in a library card number or anything. If they're outside of New Jersey, or if for some reason, it looks like they're outside of New Jersey to our system, it'll prompt them then to give other options for authentication. So library card number, or I think sometimes we just have you say, I'm really in New Jersey, and it will let you in. So that link would be specific to your institution too. So that's where I mentioned our usage reports can show you what ones are getting used most often. That's how we know that that's what's happening at your library. So there's no user account information tied to it. Again, privacy is very important there. So really you just see, you don't know who's using them, but they're being used. So yeah, that's the first thing you get when you visit our support site. And actually, let me go ahead. I'll put that URL right in the chat too.
Oh, great. One other thing I wanted to mention is that Gale does have a really nice app for your phone called Access My Library. So people can download the Access My Library app for their phone and get access to this content right on their phone. But before you start publicizing that, download it yourself and check, because I had to contact Gale Tech Support to make sure that ours was set up correctly.
And we're actually seeing the library I randomly selected is not either. So you can do a check here and then just give our tech support a call and they'll get you added.
Yeah, it took about 5 minutes. It was great.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'd like to hear that.
So I put in the chat also last week, Stacy did a pop-up workshop for us on resources for junior and high schoolers and their parents. And then at the end of November, Stacy's going to do one final pop-up workshop for us, specifically showcasing resources for people who need basic skills, ESL, and citizenship. So there's a link in the chat to register for that also. And I want to thank Stacy very much. Does anybody else have any questions? You're all very quiet. I hope you're not napping.
That Tuesday afternoon lull.
Yeah. Okay, then thank you all very much. And we will, oh, good. We will hope to see you on November 30th. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks all.